there are a lot of men who will not vote for a woman no matter what.
We do have a misogyny problem and a racism problem in America.
I've not said anything disrespectful to either of you guys on the panel, but you keep throwing fake things at me.
I know this works for you to talk over women because you're used to an audience of 90% males, but everyone
I knew you were going to go there. Yeah, I love women.
I don't know why this lady keeps saying my name.
My name's Nomiki Konst. I'm well known. I'm on the internet.
Unlike
That's
Trump
not a
and
policy.
Republicans,
That's
she's
not a
gonna actually
policy.
fund Social
That's not a
Security.
policy.
Yes, it is. There you go, genius.
People are tired of this BS.
They view Trump as an outsider. He's a bad boy, and you're bad for supporting him.
I don't think going too hysterical about Trump is the way to beat it. But don't just scream. It's like everyone goes, bah! They say you should never change your winning strategy. And on that basis, it looks a lot like Team Harris is not winning. Search the most recent analysis for the Harris campaign, and you'll see words like disaster, panic, and implosion. $1 billion has poured into her race in just a couple of months, more than President Biden raised for his entire 2020 run. But even left-leaning pollsters say this race is a dead heat. And now, after dodging media and clinging to the autocue for months, Kamala Harris is suddenly everywhere. She's even agreed to face Bret Baier on Fox News tomorrow night. She's also apparently in talks to appear on Joe Rogan. The podcasting godfather studiously avoided endorsing either candidate so far, but he's previously entertained some forthright views about the current VP.
If you're going after Officer Harris, you're either racist or sexist or ableist.
Right.
So they will use...
Ableist.
Yeah, because she's a retard. She's literally retarded. I mean, Ukraine is a country in Europe, and Russia is another country, and a powerful country, and Russia invaded Ukraine, and that's wrong.
What's really important is what can be unburdened by what has been.
I think of her as America's wine mom, because bitch seems like she's 3 deep by noon.
Well, clearly, Kamala Harris is now taking risks, and you can't knock her for that, but she wouldn't be taking these risks if she didn't have the evidence that she needs to. Young men are decisively breaking for Donald Trump, and that's why Harris needs Rogan a lot more than he may need her. That's also why Tim Walz is busy pretending to fix car engines and hunt pheasants. And that's why we've ill-advised campaign support ads like this.
Bears, that's what bear hugs are for.
I'll tell you another thing I sure as shit am not afraid of. Women.
I'm not afraid of women.
I'm not afraid of women. They want to control their bodies? I say go for it.
They want to use IVF to start a family? I'm not afraid of families.
They want to be childless cat ladies? Have all the cats you want.
Woman wants to be president?
Well, I hope she has the guts to look me right in the eye and accept my full-throated endorsement. I love women.
I love women who support their families.
Women who decide not to have families.
Women who take charge. And I'm man enough to help them win.
You might think that only a white dude for Harris could script an advert specifically for men that actually appeals exclusively to Dylan Mulvaney. But just to be clear, Trump has problems of his own, woman problems, and that's why he's now taking part in an all-female town hall to address that imbalance. Whether it's Latinos and crypto bros for Trump or students and cat ladies for Harris, the fact remains with an election this close, the margins will matter. Both candidates know it. The only safe bet about the next 20 days is it's not going to be boring. Well, joining me now to discuss all this is our panel, PBD's podcast Angry Patriot, Vinny Oshana, Wajahat Ali, the host of Democracy-ish, CEO and star of TimCast, Tim Pool, and the progressive broadcaster Nomiki Konst. Welcome to all of you. Tim Pool, welcome to Uncensored. Finally get you on. Been wanting to have you on for a long time. You're doing great guns yourself. Just your overview is where we are with 20 days to go here, because it looks like this is an absolute knife-edge race.
I would say that it seems Trump's winning the argument. I know there's a big divide between men and women. And it's funny because we've seen this bubbling up over the past several years with many culture war issues. If you look at the aggregate polling right now, particularly in battleground states, at this time in 2020, Joe Biden was up 9 points. So we are seeing that Kamala is ahead nationally in aggregate. Trump seems to have an edge. Whether he wins the popular vote, I don't know. But I think when it comes to the issue of men and women that you were just bringing up, women may hold their nose and vote for Donald Trump. And I think this is actually more of a left-leaning opinion, which for some reason I got a lot of flack for. But I think there are a lot of men who will not vote for a woman no matter what. And I think Kamala does have, you know, there's obvious issues of professionalism, but I do think sexism will play a role in her not being able to win over men in this election.
Yeah, I mean, Vajra, my thing about Kamala Harris is that when I watch her, and I know your views on Trump, and I don't disagree with some of them, and we all know our views of Trump, frankly. He is what he is. Kamala Harris obviously is is a bit more of a new proposition. Because when you're VP, you're kind of hiding behind the president. And we've only really seen the full Kamala, I would say, in the last 2 months. And the more we see of her, with the exception of a very competent debate performance, the more I see in interviews, the more unsubstantial she seems. And I think that is her problem, is that people think she talks in a kind of word salady way, and that Trump, for all his, nonsense sometimes, at least has a quite clear messaging marketing process, which he just rams home the same things again and again and again, and they do resonate with people. How concerned are you that with just 3 weeks to go, that Kamala has that issue of she was probably a pretty left-wing progressive, she's barreled her way back to the centre as fast as she can, but people aren't really buying it?
I don't think she's
part of the misogyny.
Sorry, Tim, I was for Wajahat, sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
I think that's part of the misogyny that Tim was talking about, that when you look at a career professional like Kamala Harris, who was a district attorney, who was an attorney general, who was a senator, who was a vice president, and who's now running for president, who has come out with record rallies, a record amount of enthusiasm, and who right now is leading in the polls. You compare her to Donald Trump, who just yesterday, literally, and I'm using the word literally as it's meant to be used, at his rally, instead of answering questions for 39 minutes, I've never seen this before in my life, I'm 43 years old, just sat there swaying and dancing, right? He literally canceled a CNBC interview just today, about an hour ago. He refuses to release his medical records. He canceled the 60 Minutes interview. He refuses to do another debate. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris says, okay, I'm going to go to Call Her Daddy. I'm going to go to New Media. I'm going to go do 60 Minutes. I'm going to do Howard Stern. I'm going to go to Stephen Colbert. I'll do another debate. He doesn't want to do a debate. I'll do a town hall. I'll even go to Joe Rogan. This is called a campaign that is run by professionals. This is a professional politician, a professional public servant who actually knows what she's doing. Now, the razor's edge, like we all discussed, is because it is going to be a close race thanks to the electoral college, the battleground states. She is going to win the popular vote. I believe she will win the presidency. This reminds me more of 2012, where the polls were very similar, and a lot of people thought, Obama's not going to pull through. I think she will. I think she's doing a really smart thing right now by going on Rogan, all these other outlets, trying to win over the argument. And I agree with Tim. I never thought I would say this. I agree with Tim that we do have a misogyny problem and a racism problem in America, which is why some people, some young men who realize Donald Trump has only a concept of a plan and no plan, might not vote for Kamala Harris. But I do believe she has the enthusiasm and she will get it done.
All right, Vinny, your response to that?
I mean, first and foremost, anything that's negative about Trump, I always refer back, Piers, as you know. We've already had the 4 years of Donald Trump. I don't know what this guy's talking about. It sounds like you're getting paid by the Democratic Party. We've already had 4 years of Trump, and we were winning, okay? Look at this past 4 years. You please tell me, you talked about her career as a, in San Francisco and everything. What did she accomplish when she was there? 146 laws that she tried to get behind, none of them were passed, okay? She has an abysmal record. If anything that we've seen in this past 4 years, you think that, what's Kamala going to do different? I'm just curious. What do you think Kamala's going to do? I don't care about the enthusiasm. I don't care about the men for Kamala. Sure. Please tell me name one policy that she's going to do that's going to save America from this past 4 years that she's been involved in. I'm very curious. Very curious.
Sure.
You don't have anything. There's nothing. Wait, ready for this?
Can you let me speak?
Before you go, is it the border?
Hang on.
Yeah, is it the economy?
You asked a question, let him answer. Vaja.
Yeah, I'm very curious.
All right, here we go. Unlike Donald Trump, she's not going to unleash the military on U.S. citizens. He promised to do that on the weekend. Unlike Donald Trump, she's actually support Obamacare and strengthen it, not destroy it. Unlike Trump and Republicans, she's going to actually fund Social Security.
That's not a policy.
Yes, it is. She's going to fund Social Security and she's going to fund Medicare. Donald Trump and Republicans said they want to destroy it. She's going to reinstate Roe v. Wade. She's going to try to actually make that into law, unlike Donald Trump and Republicans who overturned it, and which is why they're going to lose the election, because they attacked women, women's rights. They're going to go after contraceptive and IVF. There you go, genius.
Vinny? You're a genius, Vinny, apparently.
Thank you. I'm a genius. But Piers, let's just face the facts, okay? All the fear, all the mongering, all the everything. I've already lived through 4 years of Trump, okay? And Kamala Harris, say what you want, she wasn't the president. She was with Biden the entire time. And he's been throwing her ass under the bus lately. He's saying every decision I made, she was right there with me. So for all the real Americans that are sitting out there listening, everything, all the problems that you have at home, the inflation, the border, the Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes. Are you ready for this? a tornado, hurricanes destroying Florida, and our government, FEMA, Alejandro Mayorkas and Kamala, give them 700, excuse me, let me finish. I live in Florida.
This has been
$750. Meanwhile, meanwhile, this year, we've given $100 billion to freaking Ukraine, to Israel and everybody. Not one American should ever suffer or be asking for money, ever. We're America first. Trump's America first. Biden and Kamala are America last. And the numbers show it. Don't act like I'm sitting here like some right-wing maniac. Okay? Look at the stats.
You're showing you're a right-wing maniac.
Nomiki,
you sound like a right-wing maniac.
You don't even know what
Nomiki, you've been I think you were calling Vinny God throughout that response. So what? Explain yourself. Why you think he's so godlike?
Who is this calling Vinny God? I wasn't calling him God.
Well, you were saying God repeatedly. I wasn't sure if you meant he was a god or
oh
you
my
were...
God is what I was saying.
I know. I was yanking your chain.
I'm so sick of the QAnon talking points. Listen, I mean, there's so much to debunk there, and it's
there we
really...
go. The name.
Vinny. You had your moment, okay? Please, I've been very quiet here, listening to you guys as the woman, as you explain misogyny to everyone
I knew you were going to go there. I love women.
You know, because I'm a... Oh, you love women. I'm sure they love you, too. Listen, this is going to be determined by women. This election is going to be determined by women. And women are not only, we saw it in 2022, this country has turned out in response to Roe v. Wade, not just because it's attack against abortion rights and abortion access and the right to choose, but also it shows that the Republican Party and Donald Trump have had an agenda, not only through cutting off clinics, funding to clinics across the country, attacks on IVF, not only with their online agenda, like Tim Pool here, who was funded by the Russians, let's not forget, that they had an agenda to sway young male voters into being radicalized through disinformation campaigns. This is all out there at this point. Part of the gender divide here right now, is because folks like Tim Pool and others who once said that they were Bernie Sanders supporters, who I worked for, were suddenly pulling people away and pulling young men away and radicalizing them. So I think we have a problem with young men right now, and that they don't respect women, as you're seeing with Vinny. They don't respect facts. They don't read newspapers. They don't understand polls. They don't understand misogyny. They don't understand people of color. And they don't understand that immigration bill was blocked.
And you know what,
by Donald Trump and his Republicans.
Nomiki, I'll come to Tim for a response, but Nomiki, what you may not understand is it's precisely that attitude towards younger men that is driving them to Donald Trump. And I think the election in the end will not be won with women. It will be won with men. And interestingly, increasing numbers of Black American men and Latino American men. So Tim Pool.
Can I just challenge that for a second?
You can challenge it.
Men don't turn out at the same rates as women. It's really important. Women have a higher rate of turnout, they're more reliable voters, and young women are more left than they've ever been because of a lot of the online hate that they're seeing. So while Tim Pool might not like this, the majority of men actually do respect women and do like to talk to them. And I think, is there misogyny? Sure.
Why would Tim Pool not like people to respect women? What's he said that makes you think that?
What did I say to this lady?
I watched his commentary in response to the Kamala... This lady, I have a name, Tim. I've called you your name. You can call me my name. My name is Nomiki Konst. I'm well known. I'm on the internet. You've commented about me before as this lady. So, Tim, I saw your commentary about the manliness ad, and you said that wasn't manly. I don't think that men should be looking to other men to see what's manly. I mean, most heterosexual men want to persuade women because it's part of their, it's how they live, right? Tim Pool, I'm just questioning why you're defining masculinity and women aren't, because we're the ones...
Well, it's interesting that you think you should be able to define masculinity, but he can't. Tim Pool, your response?
I don't know why this lady keeps saying my name. I didn't say anything to her. I think I started this off by saying I agree with the left position that there is an inherent sexism problem in this country. That actually, I'm hearing this from some of the reporters that we have on the street, that there are young men, when asked why they wouldn't support Kamala Harris, they give no reason other than she's just a woman. So I certainly understand why the Harris campaign, Tim Walz and Harris, and their supporters are making videos trying to tell men, here's how you can be masculine. So in particular, there's a couple ads. There's the white dude for Harris ad, and then there was another one that was put out, I believe it was by supporters, not the campaign officially, and a Tim Walz ad that were similar. And they're doing these things where they say, like, you know, I can fix a carburetor and I'm not scared of women. These things don't say anything to men. Now, we believe, I should say the commentary we had on this is that they were female-coded advertisements likely written by women for men. I think if you look at the trends that guys follow in terms of media, they're looking at action movies. It's rather stereotypical, but there is a lowest common denominator here. So I don't think you are convincing men to vote for women by making commercials where you say, here's how men should act. I don't think you need those arguments for men. I think if there's a struggle with men, I wonder if the issue is not that it's a point of convincing these men, but that you actually just have guys who are sexist. And how you overcome that's a challenge I don't quite know. But I think when we criticize and mock, say, a cringe commercial, it's because it's certainly not the way to do it.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It depends on who you're trying to target. I mean, if you're trying to target Tim Pool viewers, yeah, probably not. I mean, the far right, I don't think Kamala Harris or any Democrat was ever going to win over. But there are plenty of men who may need permission.
What do you mean a Tim Pool viewer?
Well, I mean, you have an audience, and the audience is far right, and over
somebody who thinks
90% male.
So you're saying that you think my audience that agrees with me that there's inherent sexism in this country and racism, and that creates a barrier for Kamala Harris. Those are the viewers you're talking about?
No, I'm saying that the folks who listen to your show are not. They are not the target audience of these ads. There are plenty of men out there who may not have really understood when they kept asking things like, where is Kamala Harris's plan, even though she's said it over and over and over again on the campaign trail. They're using excuses and not understanding that the underlying issue there might be misogyny.
Hang on. Kamala Harris, with the best will in the world, she doesn't have a big plan for what she's going to do. She never thought she'd have to have one. She gets parachuted in this weird coronation, a completely undemocratic process, by the way, which I don't think served her or the Democrats very well, and I suspect will come back and haunt them at the election. But the truth is that Kamala Harris doesn't seem to have a proper plan. Her plan is to hammer Trump, and that's fine. But I don't think that, unlike in 2020, when Biden hid in the basement and did that quite successfully, I don't think just being anti-Trump is enough. Americans are looking for a much bigger picture. Now, I want to bring in Wajahat because hang on. I'll come back to you. I want to bring in Wajahat about this extraordinary Obama intervention, and I'll play the clip where he was talking directly to black men in America.
And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly now, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for it.
That seemed quite patronising to me, Wajahat, but I'll play another clip, which is a response from Lord Jamar, the rapper and record producer, to what he heard from Obama there.
Well, I feel that she's so bad that guess what? I might just go around and vote for Trump. And this is my first time saying this out loud. But y'all think you're going to shame somebody or bully into voting for this? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And now you're going to make me be Mr. Anti. You keep coming at me with this bullshit. You keep coming at me talking about, oh, it's a shame that you're not supporting a black woman. She's not black.
Wajahat, wow. I watched that, and I was interested because I think if I was a black American, and I'm neither, but if I was, I would have thought that Obama intervention was quite patronising.
Yeah, so you're not a black man, and you're going to be probably, if you were a black man, you might be one of the 12% that vote Republican. Historically, 88% vote Democrat, and it seems like this time around, 88% are going to vote Democrat. The same thing happened in 2012. There was a discussion within black America that some people said, hey, Obama, don't talk down to black men like this because black men will actually support Kamala, and don't be swayed by the 12% or the 15% or Lord Jamal, who, by the way, has never voted before. It seems like this is a manufactured controversy, but guess what? I'm glad the one thing we all agree on in this panel, I'm really I'm being sincere about here, is we all agree that misogyny and racism exist in America, and we all agree that it plays a part. And we agree, and we should agree, that there's a double standard that Kamala Harris, as the first black Indian woman, has to basically overcome. She has to pole vault over this. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has no plans. He's selling black people shoes. Yesterday, Kamala Harris said, here's my plan for black men. He actually comes up with a comprehensive plan that will actually help young black men. And by the way, that is going to resonate. What does Donald Trump do? Sways to music for 39 minutes, talks about Hannibal Lecter, talks about black jobs, says Kamala Harris has turned black, talks about black criminality in the urban warfare of Detroit, mocks Detroit, a place where he's speaking, a major city in a swing state he needs to win. This is what he does for black people. He's racist. He hangs out with racists. He supports Nazi talking points, literally talking about poisoning the blood.
And yet,
he hangs out with Nick Fuentes,
just to jump in,
Vajahat, and a racist.
Okay,
Meanwhile, Kamala Harris,
I know.
Kamala Harris actually comes up with a plan, and you say she has no plan.
But you see, what's interesting? Right. What's interesting to me, Vajahat, is despite everything you've just said, Trump's support amongst black Americans, particularly black male Americans, has been rising steadily now for the last 2 years, which would be apparently inexplicable given what you've just said. They don't perceive him that way. And it looks like from the polling that what they really believe is that Trump will get stuff like the economy done better than Kamala has proven to have done in the last nearly 4 years as part of the Biden administration. So you can say as much as you like that he's a disgusting racist, Nazi, blah, 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 but you can't explain to me, unless you've got a good reason, why so many more black men in particular in America are gravitating away from a black candidate to Trump.
Piers, there's also so much disinformation, thanks specifically to right-wing media, and also in part due to Russian influence media, that a majority of Republicans believe Trump more than their own pastors, their family members, and right-wing media.
People.
And also, they believe, they believe that Donald Trump won the 2020 election that he lost. This is what we're dealing with,
Actually,
which is why
hang on,
this
you don't
election,
know that Vajahat. You have no idea why those people...
What do you mean?
You don't know that all the black American men who gravitated to Trump all believe he had that election
I'm not
stolen.
talking about black American men.
Well, I am. That was my question
I'm
to you.
talking about disinformation.
No, but my specific question for you was, if he's so racist, why are so many more... excuse me, I've had man flu. I'm sure you all feel desperately sorry for me.
Sure.
But you don't explain to me, and you haven't done yet, why is it that his support amongst the black vote in America has been rising pretty consistently now for the last year and a half, 2 years? Why?
Sure. I will say two things. Number one, wait till the election results. I will not be surprised if it comes back to 88-12, 85-15, Kamala Trump. Number two, there is misogyny. And there is a misogyny that exists within black communities as well, which is why Obama and others, and some black men didn't like the way he said it, but they're saying, hey, listen, support this candidate. She is the right candidate. She has the experience. She has the capacity. She will do it right. Misogyny is not just limited to white men or black men or brown men or South Asian men. Unfortunately, it is a global problem, and we're seeing it persist and come out, unfortunately, in this election because we have a qualified candidate, Kamala Harris, who happens to be a black Indian woman. So they're making the pitch to men, hey, get over your misogyny and choose the right candidate who actually has a plan that will uplift all of us.
Okay, I'm going to come
and
to Vinny.
Hopefully, it registers with enough.
I'm going to come to Vinny, but what I would say to that is that, again, is extremely patronizing to black Americans who may gravitate to Trump. You are assuming they're all just ill-informed misogynists, and that is very patronizing.
I'm not saying that.
I'll come to Vinny first, and I'll come to you, Tim. Vinny, your response to that.
One sentence, because I don't want to miss.
Okay, hang on. Okay, Vinny, wait one second. Tim, you respond.
Yeah, go ahead, Tim.
The reporters we've had on the street, when they talk to young black men, they all say they're going to vote for Donald Trump. But then when it comes to, are you actually going to show up? We're not seeing that in the same amount. So it may be talk. I actually agree that the numbers may actually fall in historical lines, and we're not going to see this big boost. We always hear it. We never see it.
But in relation to why they're gravitating to Trump, or saying they are, what are you hearing on that?
Well, it seems like Trump is the bad boy.
Vinny, I'll come to you in one second.
I was just going to go off of what Tim said.
Yeah, Vinny, I will come to you in one second. I just want Tim to respond on that one point, because you talked about talking to these very people. What was the reason that they were giving predominantly for moving to Trump?
I don't think that we're not really hearing good reasons, to be completely honest. The average person isn't hyper tuned into all the politics, but it seems like, at least from what I've heard, They view Trump as an outsider, as a bandit, as, you know, a John Dillinger, right? He's outside the machine. He's fighting it. He's a bad boy, and you're bad for supporting him. So if you're a young man and you walk up to your group of dudes and you say, I'm voting for Kamala Harris, they're going to laugh at you because she does not come off like a bad guy who's aggressive and a bully or anything like that. Will this actually translate into people showing up at the polls? I'm not convinced it will.
Okay, Vinny, you're waiting patiently. What do you think of this?
Okay, so when you said, Piers, when you said like why the African American population is starting to lean towards Trump, and the numbers are off, by the way, because we just did it today in the PBD podcast. It was 81% for Obama. It dropped to 70 when it was Hillary. Then it kept decreasing. Kamala is the lowest out of all of them, and it keeps decreasing. And the Obama rhetoric of, you know what I mean, you're black. If you're not, you have to do this. You have to do this. It's patronizing. And let's not forget why a lot of African American friends that I have, Piers, like, you know what? Trump is going through what the government is doing with him, with the lawfare and the media, making him look bad. They're attracted to that because they know that that's what they've been going through forever. And all this BS rhetoric of Trump is racist, enough of that shit. And this guy even talked about Russia, again, with Russia. It's like, guys, get over it. This identity politics, it ain't working. Okay, because the people are waking up. This Hitler, whatever, Nazi rhetoric, which I don't think you've learned, people are actually trying to go after Trump and murder him because of people like you saying some dumb shit like he's Hitler. Like, you know how disrespectful that is to Jewish people that I know? I have Jewish friends that are enraged because you're saying somebody's Hitler, like he killed millions of Jews. I think it's stupid, it's disrespectful. But Piers, what else do you expect from the Democratic Party? Okay? It's all about identity. It's all about sexism. It's women. It's this, is that. Trump wasn't racist till he said he was running for the presidency, okay? And you know what it is? People are tired. Guys, do you feel it, Piers? All the way in England? People are tired of this BS. Trump is this, Trump is that. I've already gotten 4 years of him, and we were kicking ass until China unleashed COVID.
You know what? Here's what I think,
if
Vinny.
you guys, hold on, and I'm almost done, Piers. And you know what's funny about the left? If they didn't do all this Hunter Biden suppressing laptop BS and COVID and all that, he'd be leaving in 3 weeks. You'd be done with Trump. All you TDS people out there like our guests, you guys would have been, your hands would have been done. Trump would have been gone. But they had to do all that. The FBI had to go to Twitter to suppress stories. COVID, everybody had to vote from home. All that BS had to happen. You guys would have been done with him by now. But now, you guys want it? You're going to get another 4 years. I don't care about this polling. This same polling, Piers, had Hillary winning by 90%. You guys, it's going to be a shocker for you guys. And you're going to have another 4 more years of TDS.
All right, Nomiki.
TDS, polling, what do you mean? The polling for Hillary was
Hang on, Vinny. Let me go to Nomiki. Here's what I would say. I do think the Trump derangement syndrome is a very real and utterly self-harming thing. The more you scream hysterically about Trump, the more you exaggerate him as the new Hitler and so on, the more it just plays into his hands. Because A, it's not true, and B, he uses it to master himself even more as the great underdog, railing against this system, which insists on calling him the new Hitler, which I've always thought is a completely ridiculous thing to do. Before you say it, I know that Vance called him that before, and he was wrong too, right? So just using labels like that is completely pointless. I don't think going too hysterical about Trump is the way to beat him. If I was a Democrat, pick him off. Pick him off in a smart, intelligent way. But don't just scream. It's like everyone goes, bah! All the time you mention his name. It doesn't work. That's why he's now neck and neck with your candidate.
There's a broad coalition of folks who are supporting Kamala Harris, as there's a broad coalition of folks who are supporting Donald Trump. Not all of them are loyal MAGA people who would storm the Capitol like Vinny here, or paid by Russia like Tim Pool here. But with that being said, Donald Trump yesterday said that he would use Donald Trump yesterday. Can I talk, please?
I'll let you respond, Tim.
Can I speak?
Let her finish, Tim, and I'll come to you.
I'm sorry. This is like, you want to know what misogyny is? You want to know what misogyny is? You let my colleague here on the left talk without being interrupted? I am not allowed to speak. Tim, are you on the clock right now for Russia? I know you get $100,000 a week from Russia, and the FBI intervened. So listen,
because you guys, what you do is you make stuff up and you say my name 50 times because you want the clicks on YouTube instead of having a real conversation about what the issues are. Instead of
the clicks on
Piers
YouTube.
Morgan
I don't have a YouTube show, Tim.
So that you can do whatever you got to do so you get attention and you get your viral clips. I get it. But it's not constructive. It's not solving our problems.
I have a job, Tim, outside of YouTube, unlike you.
Don't talk over each other because we can't actually hear Tim because the mic doesn't.
Can I finish? I'm sorry. This is ridiculous, Piers. Like,
You see what the problem
Here's
is.
an example
And then,
of
wait 1 second.
right.
No one can hear
Tim
you.
Pool, you were
hang on,
investigated by the FBI.
hang on, Nomiki. Nobody can hear either of you because every time you talk, Tim's mic cuts out and he's trying to speak too. Let me just get Tim to respond to you first, then I'll come back to you, Nomiki.
I never got to say
Hang on,
anything because Tim was
Nomiki.
talking over me.
Hang on, Nomiki. Let him come back to you on what you were saying, and then you can respond. Tim.
But I never got to say what I was saying about
you
Trump.
actually answer
what he said yesterday.
You can answer the question, and we can have a substantive conversation on the issues, or you can keep saying my name. Pick one.
Nomiki, what do you want?
Guess what? You're not the host. Okay. Donald Trump yesterday said that he would use the military.
If you want to answer the issues, answer the issues.
I know this works for you to talk over women because you're used to an audience of 90% males, but let me speak. Let me speak. If we're talking about misogyny, then maybe we should talk about misogyny and have a woman talk about misogyny. Donald Trump yesterday said that he was going to use the military against political enemies. Donald Trump said that he was going to challenge the election after he already challenged the election. These are things authoritarians do. I'm not using the H word. I'm using authoritarian and what's at risk. When you have Dick Cheney, who I have nothing in common with, siding with Bernie Sanders in this election because they fear that our democratic world is at stake, that the world order as it is, as imperfect and flawed as it is at stake because there is foreign interference. Yeah, I do think that's worth mentioning because Trump goes against everything that's pro-America. He didn't even, he didn't want to support the immigration bill and he blocked it. Inflation began to increase under him. We can't forget that. Manufacturing did not succeed as he promised in 2016 when he ran on that. And no, actually, the economy wasn't better under him. Go look at 2020 economic numbers, and they were horrible. And we have inflation going down. We have Wall Street is doing better than it's ever been. Wages are up at record rates now, finally. I mean, unemployment is at a record low. This is real. These are real issues, and Kamala is presenting issues to invest in small businesses, to expand Obamacare, which is hurting so many small businesses. I mean, she actually does have an economic plan, and Donald Trump is just talking about using the military against political enemies.
Okay, but the interesting thing is that despite that big speech you just made, it is completely neck and neck. Trump's ahead in 5 of the 7 key swing states because people simply don't believe that Kamala Harris has done a great job with the economy. And when it comes to the southern border, she was the border czar. And everyone on the left was quite happy to call her that, right to the point it became a millstone when she got coronated. And they realised it was embarrassing to be having responsibility for such a complete fiasco, whichever side of the divide you're on. Tim, your response now to Nomiki.
Well, I mean, if we've got issues to discuss in terms of how we can help this country move forward, what we think the issues in the election are, how they're going to affect who votes for Kamala or Trump, I think that's what we should be talking about. The only reason I began to counter what she was saying was because she keeps bringing me up for some reason, and I'm not a politician. I'm some dude who complains on the internet for a living.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a perfectly fair response.
But it was paid by the Russians, though. That's important.
That's just
to mention.
made up.
I'm sorry.
Wajahat makes an interesting point about disinformation.
Go on,
and
Tim.
I think I think it's fascinating that instead of just saying, is Tim right or wrong? I think actually my opening assessment on this was an inherent misogyny in this country, which is a negative impact on Kamala Harris. For some reason, she just turns it into attack on me and then says it's Russian disinformation. Okay, I don't know, what is it? Is there racism and sexism in this country?
Where this misogyny comes from, and there's a lot of disinformation funded by Russia, and I think that's important to mention. And you have a primarily male audience.
Piers, can I say something?
Yeah, it's bringing in Wajahat, yeah.
Sure. It's not TDS when General Milley, the former top general who's retired, openly said that Donald Trump is a, quote, total fascist. It's not TDS when Donald Trump, literally over the weekend, said he will unleash the military against U.S. citizens. It's not TDS when Donald Trump last week in Aurora openly said that he will invoke the Alien Sedition Act that interned Japanese Americans during World War II. This is not TDS when he, to this day, refuses, he's been asked multiple times, will you accept the 2024 results? He's not said yes each and every single time. He still does not accept the 2020 results, and he said, his words, that he will be a dictator for a day and he will terminate the Constitution. It is the failure of corporate media and also social media and also several influential people on YouTube who for the past 4 years have not raised the threat and have done a both sides analysis where we've given Donald Trump a pass and promoted hateful talking points and conspiracy theories. And yes, some individuals and outlets have been paid by Russia. It has been confirmed. They have been unwitting agents of Russia, whether they realize it or not. Tim Pool and a lot of his friends, unfortunately, this is true. Now, I don't know if Tim knew it. He says he didn't. But this is the disinformation that has come out in the past 4 years, which is why, in part, Piers, there is such lack of information and knowledge about the facts,
all right, well,
which
listen,
is why so many voters think that Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
Listen. For the purpose of... Okay, hang on, Tim. Just to be clear, Vajah, it's a two-way street, this rhetoric line that you peddle about this stuff, because when you persistently call, as the left have for 8 years now, Trump the new Hitler, I'm afraid that is the kind of
I didn't say that word.
Well, I'm not saying you did. I'm just saying a lot on the left have.
J.D. Vance did. His own vice president.
I've already said what I
America's
think of that, right? What I'm saying is when they say that about him, unfortunately, that is about as extreme as you could possibly be in terms of rhetoric. You're likening him to someone who killed 12 million people, including perpetrating a Holocaust on Jewish people that killed 6 million of them. And that does lead to deranged minds trying to kill him, as we've seen repeatedly in the last 3 months. So this idea that somehow the Democrats rise above this hyperbolic rhetoric. Anyway, you made an allegation against Tim there, which is that he was being used by Russia to promote disinformation. Tim, your response?
So this is the struggle, right? We are beset on all sides with disinformation, and it comes from everybody, either on purpose or on accident. Someone might see a story, they assume it's true. If someone's only watching MSNBC, they're going to live in a particular world. If someone's only watching Fox News, it's quite the same. The one thing I can say is that I never received a penny from Russia. That what you're referring to, and I hope you guys read the indictment. There's limited things that I can say in this as the victim in what's going on. And so what we're dealing with is three layers of investment through shell companies. A company that I produce a show for received money from another American-based company that at some point, according to an indictment, allegedly received money from Hungarian shell companies, which came, they allege, from Russia. None of this is confirmed. These are all allegations, and my company has never done business with Russia nor received money from Russia. This is just not the case. In fact, there's not much I can say as the victim, and we are cooperating with the DOJ. There's not much more to be said. No. But if you're going to come on a show like this, and then you're going to just repeat these false talking points while accusing others of disinformation without having done the legwork, I've not said anything disrespectful to either of you guys on the panel, but you keep throwing fake things at me, and I don't know why. I don't know why. In fact, I think I agree with both of you on a lot of what you did say. Instead, I'm sitting here, and Wajahat, this is not directed at you because I actually agree with you quite a bit on what you said. But I don't know why I'm the subject of this and why you keep bringing this up while claiming disinformation is a problem and then not doing research to figure out what is true or what isn't.
Yeah, I think that's a perfectly reasonable response.
You received funding from Tenet Media. Okay, so yes, the money did flow through several entities. That's called money funneling. And because you can't just take money directly from Russia. I read the indictment.
Okay. Nomiki, hang on, Nomiki. Do you have any evidence that when you say that Tim Pool took money from Russia to spread disinformation, do you have any actual evidence for that?
Yes, in the indictment from the DOJ, which anybody can read. It's a fun read, actually, really fascinating stuff. It said that the money, allegedly the money, had been moved through this investigation through multiple entities because you can't, as an American citizen, just get money from Russia, like openly. You can't do that. So RT funneled money into different entities to Tenet Media, and they were in direct communication. Tenet Media is who was paying Tim Pool's company.
But that isn't my question. That's not my question. My question was, do you have any evidence that Tim Pool took money from Russia to spread disinformation? Yes or no? And the answer is you don't. I've read that indictment. There is no evidence.
That's not true.
There is no evidence. There is no evidence that he spread disinformation because the Russians were paying him. You know that. I know that. And when you're going to make a big platform on a show like this by saying Tim Pool took money from Russia to spread disinformation, there is no evidence for that.
He took money from Russia. And separate, not to spread disinformation, because he spreads disinformation. So that's a very important point. He was a useful idiot in this, the term useful idiot, I'm not calling you an idiot, just to be clear.
You mean because he disagrees with you about some things?
Which disinformation?
Was it not because he disagrees, but because...
Well, that's a good question. Nomiki,
your COVID disinformation.
Hang on, Nomiki. Tim just asked a very good question. What specific disinformation has he spread?
Well, he was a COVID denier, got COVID on his show, denied COVID regularly, and then took ivermectin, which we all know is not something that's usable.
Okay, all right, you say that. Tim Pool, your response to that?
That's one thing.
Hang on. Tim Pool.
Never denied COVID, repeatedly rejected ivermectin, rejected hydroxychloroquine, urged everybody to go to their doctors, refused ivermectin when it was prescribed to me. So I don't know what you're talking about. You're making things up.
So that
now,
seems to me, Nomiki, a pretty clear denunciation of what you just said is utter disinformation.
I never said Donald Trump won the 2020 election either. I said he lost the day it was announced he lost. And the culture war show to which you're referring, which a production company had a contract with Tenet Media. Which episode are you referring to? The one where we had a talk on the future of video games, the future of Neuralink, space travel, the production. Right. The Culture War show is not an overt political show. The Culture War show, for instance, yesterday, or I should say last week, or the week before, we had a mob boss talking on what it was like to be in the mafia running casinos. I don't know how a show where we interview various guests on certain ideas like religion has anything to do with the political landscape. But perhaps if you actually read this, you'd also know that the deal was a non-exclusive reproduction license, meaning my production company posted a show everywhere on the internet, and Tenet purchased the license for rebroadcast. The show was controlled by a production company, and they had no say in it whatsoever. So if you're saying that a cultural show that interviews priests and scientists is disinformation, you've clearly not read any of this, and you have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think, I'm afraid...
I have a way we
it
can
would
all
seem to
agree.
me, Nomiki,
Can we all
no
agree on
offense,
something?
it would seem to me, Nomiki, with great respect, you brought a pea shooter to a gunfight on this one. And you should have been better prepared.
Can we all agree on something?
Because Tim's answers are pretty unequivocal.
You really should read the indictment because this is mental gymnastics.
Nomiki, you said plenty of things, and they've all been replied to. Vaja, you want to say something?
I think we can all agree, and I hope we all agree, that a hostile foreign nation should not be funneling money and or trying to funnel money to any U.S. media company to promote its talking points. I think we should all agree on that. Do we all agree on that?
I agree on that. Tim?
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And so the show Friday was a scientist refuting claims of man-made geoengineering and hurricanes. I don't know how a show like that is some way political or talking.
Airs other shows too.
All right. Now, you know what?
Tim,
we've covered this. Let's move on. We're running out of time. I want to play a clip to you, Vinny, of Donald Trump dancing for half an hour in Pennsylvania last night.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah.
Now, what was interesting is Vaja earlier said, he lost his mind and blah, blah, blah. In fact, what happened there, because I checked facts, which I know is a sort of quaint thing to do these days, is that two members of the audience, one after the other, were taken quite badly ill. And as a result, Trump stopped the Q&A and said, no more questions, but let's play some music. He had a plan to play some music anyway, and he played the music. And I was struck by the Sinead O'Connor part of that, because when I spoke to Trump on the phone about a week ago, he was on his plane, and in the background was Sinead O'Connor singing Nothing Compares to You. Now I know why it was playing in the background on his plane. So that answered that question. But here's the thing, Vinny. I just think Trump is, whether you love him or hate him, I've always said this, he's a kind of unique character in the political world. And last night was classic Trump. It was completely surprising. It came out of nowhere. It was prompted by two people being sick. But in the end, people scream at him if he does his normal rally stuff, and they scream at him when he plays some lovely music and just sits there dancing without saying anything. This comes back to my thing and your thing about TDS, is that if you scream at Trump for standing there just doing a bit of gyrating to some of the greatest songs ever made in the history of music, there's something wrong with you, isn't there?
39 minutes.
I mean, Piers, absolutely not. Listen to me. Donald Trump, love him or hate him, is a freaking rock star. If either you're blind or you just are in complete denial, his rallies are absolutely insane. And I love that you said that, Piers. The left and all these people talking about, oh, he just stood there like a crazy person. People were having freaking heart attacks in the audience, so he, out of the kindness of his heart, was just hanging out and playing freaking music. And you know what? He should be happy. Somebody shot him in the freaking head, and he survived. Another psycho was trying to kill him at freaking Mar-a-Lago. And this other guy, I don't know about the third assassination attempt, but they are all trying to kill him. And no matter what he does, Piers, he could have been holding a baby. They would have been complaining and crying about him. And I don't care how much these guests say that they don't have TDS. You think about Donald Trump every single day. People like me don't think about Barack. I don't think about Kamala. I mean, it's freaking election season, so we have to. But other than that, get on with it, bro. Nobody wants to hear it. It's all the same talking points. It's all the same BS rhetoric. The guy's dancing to music, and they can't stand that. Like, maybe what else do you want him to do?
Well, Wajahat, it's a good question. Why are you so appalled by Donald Trump simply dancing to great music? What's the matter with you?
He first and foremost mocked the man who passed out as he was being carried out on a stretcher, a Trump supporter. He said, lose weight.
God, here we go.
When he was answering questions, he did, check out the video. Once he was answering questions during the part of the rally, he talked about Hannibal Lecter. He was asked a simple question about the economy. He talked about hydrogen cars exploding. Then he seemed to just run out of stamina. It's Weekend at Bernie's. Emperor has no clothes.
But that's not what
I'm
happened,
not part of the Trump cult, folks.
That's not what happened.
For 39 minutes, listen.
I mean, look, you are the hang on, Vinny. I mean, you are the high priest of disinformation, Wajahat, and you're literally spewing it now.
Yes.
You know, and I know, and everybody
I'm
knows.
not.
Everyone knows that Trump stopped the Q&A because 2 people were taken ill, and he moved to doing some music. You know that. I know that.
Wait. No. He stopped for 39 minutes. Then he did not resume. He left. Then, today, in the morning, he canceled his CNBC interview. He has refused to do the 60 Minutes interview, has refused to release his medical records, has refused to debate Kamala Harris on CNN. Now she's doing a town hall. The man is the oldest man to run for president. He slurred his words yesterday, made some word Asian. I don't know what he's talking about. He talked about Hannibal Lecter. The guy isn't there, folks. He isn't there.
He only mentions Hannibal Lecter.
He's not going to help you.
Well, look, he mentions Hannibal Lecter in every single speech, and he does it purely to annoy people like you. That's the only reason he does it.
No, I think it's because he doesn't understand the word asylum. I don't think he understands the word asylum. In all seriousness, I think he mentions Hannibal Lecter because he doesn't understand the word asylum. But listen, Piers, I respect you for doing your best to put lipstick on a pig. I respect you for trying your best to make this king look like he's brilliant, to look like this weak old man, to seem like he's a bull.
I didn't say any of those things.
This was really pathetic last night.
All I said...
I know you're trying. Oh, he was dancing to American music. A presidential candidate 3 weeks before the election doing that is disastrous. You know it. I know it. Republicans know it.
I didn't see anything disastrous about it at all. Young people like to see a groovy president.
Yeah, but hold on. For how can you in your right mind? And I get it. I know what you're doing. It's a leftist. You're spewing the same rhetoric. Weekend at Bernie's. What we saw for 4 years with Biden. You mean to tell me that were you complaining about Joe Biden and all? I'm just genuinely curious. Where was your shit talking for Joe Biden? And now your party of democracy, they throw that guy in the trash, and then they get Kamala, which none of you voted for. How do you feel as a Democrat
Joe Biden
who's all about democracy? You didn't even pick this guy. You didn't even pick this girl. Did you pick her? Did you vote for her?
Yeah,
Did you want her
I voted for
no, because
Biden
you guys
Harris.
had to dump Biden.
All right. Well, listen,
you voted for Biden Harris.
Listen, on this point,
Vinny, last thing I'll say, Vinny, right now, Donald Trump is the oldest person to ever run for office. You all were after Biden for being the old guy. It's your guy, Donald Trump, and he doesn't have the stamina.
And you know what,
are you comparing the cognitive skills?
I've got to say one thing.
Are you comparing them cognitively?
I'm not putting lipstick on a pig when I say this. Have you ever seen a 78-year-old guy, apart from Mick Jagger, with more energy on a stage than Trump? Seriously, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. Yes, Bernie Sanders. Have you seen Bernie
Sanders?
I
would include Bernie.
For 3 hours.
I would include Bernie.
Sanders.
Bernie, Mick, and Don.
He's
I agree with you about Bernie Sanders.
He's older, and he's at least cognizant. I mean, the problem with Donald Trump is that when you do watch these rallies and see how folks are leaving them now, I mean, it's amazing that he doesn't have the rallies of the same size. He's obsessed with the rally sizes. We don't care about rally sizes.
Come on.
I don't see any of that. All right, listen, we've got to leave it here. I want to leave a final word to Tim, because it's your first time on Uncensored. What do you think is going to happen in the next 3 weeks, Tim?
I honestly don't know. I think right now there's a perceived polling bias, according to most pollsters, that favor Democrats. Trump's up in all the battlegrounds except Wisconsin. When I hear these conversations and y'all are talking about whether Trump is old or what Biden should have done if Democrats took him out, if Kamala's got word salad or whatever, The only thing I'm thinking of is I just heard that Walgreens is shutting down 1,200 locations, 7-Eleven's shutting down 400, Big Lots is in trouble, Hooters is preparing for bankruptcy. And I'm just thinking that the average person watching this, I have to assume they just turn the volume down or turn it off, because I want to know why it is that when I go to the grocery store, I go to Food Lion, my prices are up. I want to know that when I'm buying snacks and food for my office, for my employees, prices are way up. I want to know why everyone's having a hard time. And I'm not hearing any of that here. I'm really tired of the Trump is racist or Kamala is, inexperienced. Like, I know I've got my opinions on her, but I'm trying really hard, at least for now, in the next couple of weeks, to just say, can we talk about the issues at play that are proposed and stop going ad hominem?
Yeah, I completely and utterly agree with you. Great to have you on Uncensored, Tim.
Majority
talk
of
about the
economists
plans. We
yesterday
wanted to.
said Kamala Harris's plan is successful.
Yep.
Majority
Okay.
of economists yesterday, Tim, for your audience, majority of economists yesterday
Price
just
gouging.
said, compared to both plans, Kamala Harris's plan will help America.
You know
Tell your
what?
audience
I think
that.
we should end with what Tim said. We should basically all agree with what he said at the end there. That is a point with none of us should disagree with the principle of what Tim said at the end. So thank you all very much indeed for joining me. I appreciate it.